Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we are talking about supporting your teammates. So, I have been trying to try out my Gunboat DDs. You guys know I've recently branched out into destroyers within the past about 3 or 4 months. And I like my gunboats. I like running around in open water and going pew 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 pew. And before the rework, I was a decent Gunboat DD player. Not overly amazing or anything, but I was decent. I could get roughly about 80 to 100k in a Gunboat DD. Granted, of course, there was no CV harassment involved too much, and of course, depending upon the DD, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending upon what it was and how comfortable I was in the ship. Obviously, the Khabarovsk and the Kleber were two of my better Gunboat DDs, along with the Smallland, of course, because Smallland. But recently, now that I've been trying to go back and try out these ships after the Commander rework, I'm really struggling to get even comparable performance to what I was doing beforehand. I'm still using the same tricks and tactics that I was using beforehand, and that might be what's going on. I figured, the basics of trying to get around, trying to flank, chew through the enemy DDs, trying to either get around the enemy cruisers or chew through the enemy cruisers to get to, of course, the battleships behind them, which you can, of course, farm for plenty of damage, would work. And, well, it's just not working as well for me anymore. And it's quite frankly because of a lack of support. And again, I'm not saying, oh, I should be doing 200 and something thousand damage a match. No, I'm saying I just can't do what I used to be able to do with the gunboat duties, despite them getting quite a few really darn good new commander skills with the commander rework that really benefit them. But at the end of the day, if your team isn't supporting you in the most basic and simple of ways, then you're not going to have a good time. And unless you're a super unicum and can just outplay everybody, you just aren't going to be able to perform as well. So what I'm noticing when I'm playing DDs, and just playing in general, is that teams are of course hanging way further back than they are beforehand. And when you do that, you're taking away just, again, basic support from your destroyers that you're not giving to them. And I don't mean by, being right next to them on the cap or anything like that. But if you're simply there, near where the destroyer is, giving the enemy team something else to focus on besides the destroyer, you are helping that destroyer immensely. Because just being there, just giving the enemy team something to shoot at, that way when the DD gets spotted, let's say the DD's 12 kilometers away from the enemy team, that's within the gun range of most gunboat DDs. But the next furthest ship is, let's say, a cruiser that's 18 kilometers away, and then the battleships are, of course, 24, 25 kilometers away in the back. They're not going to bother to shoot at the cruiser that's 18 kilometers away. They're going to shoot at that DD that's about 12 kilometers away. But if you're even just a little bit closer, so like the 14 to 15 kilometer range, then some enemy teammates are going to shoot at that cruiser rather than everybody focusing on the destroyer. And of course, with gunboat destroyers, they can't really just, kind of run back and forth like torpedo boats can very stealthily. They have to be spotted. They have to be docking, especially like ships like Kleber and Khabarovsk that have to be running around. They can't really sit still because you die if you sit still and try to dock, unless you got some really good island cover or some smoke cover. But Khabarovsk doesn't have smoke if you play it correctly, and Kleber just doesn't have smoke in general. So that's what I'm noticing there, and it's not just from a DD player's point of view, but from a battleship player's point of view too. And I've talked about this before, of course, with pushing and such. There aren't many ships playing it close anymore at all. And it's not a new problem. This has been a problem since the game has existed, of course, diminishing team support. It's gotten worse as it's gone on. But again, when we're talking about support, I'm not talking about Unicum levels and super Unicum levels of support. Everyone coordinating, just like laser focus and such, and everyone's getting to position and setting up cross shots and stuff. I'm just talking about having a presence near the caps or near where the action's going on, and not being on the other side of the map away from everybody to where the enemy team doesn't really have much to shoot at. And the meta has been moving in this direction, where it's in now, to where it's a long-range snipe fest. Everyone's sitting in the back, just trying to farm damage, and not many people are pushing. It's been moving in that direction. But when the Commander rework come out, let's say the meta is a car, and a car is heading in one direction. So we're heading towards, snipe fest, long-range sniping, sitting in the back of the map, and then the other direction is pushing in and brawling. Cars heading away from brawling and heading towards sniping. When the Commander rework came out, what it basically did was put the gas pedal to the floor in that car, and now we are zooming toward long-range sniping, sitting in the back of the map and not pushing. And we're leaving brawling and pushing and decent team support in the dust now. That's what happened with the Commander rework. But some problems that have been lingering beforehand are still present, and even more present today. So, for example, support actions, they're not rewarded enough. Near enough, in my opinion, at least. I've had matches where I've tanked 3 million and above damage, but when the end result screens get there, be it a win or a loss, I'm still mid or below on the team, because I was busy trying to dodge and avoid dying while being the focus of the enemy teams. I'm sure we've all been there, when we spawn on the weak flank, and of course the weak flank where your team spawned in, for some reason, a lot of the times, that's where the enemy team gets their heavy spawn, and they just push up, or you're the only thing they can shoot at, and you get their full attention for, like, let's say over half the enemy team. And of course all the Thunderers and Shikishimas and Yamis throwing their shells at you from the other side of the map. You get a lot of potential damage really friggin' quick. And I've had several matches where I've got like 3, 2.5, 2.8, 3.2 million potential damage tanked. And for some reason, despite taking all that damage for my team, I don't get rewarded that well. And of course, I can only do like 80,000 damage in return, because when you're running away or trying not to die, you of course can't bring your full armament to bear on the target, because you gotta show your broadside to do that, and when you show your broadside to that many ships, that's how you die pretty darn quickly. So that isn't rewarded near enough what it needs to be. And of course, on the flip side, we've all had those matches where we do like 40,000 damage, and then for some reason we're top of the team on a blowout match because you somehow managed to do more damage than the other 12 ships combined, because of course they were busy either running or trying to snipe from the other side of the map or whatever. And of course now it's far, far, far too easy for players to just sit in the back of the map and ships like, of course, aiming systems, unique upgrade, Deadeye Yami, Deadeye Shikishima, Deadeye Vermont, and Deadeye Thunder, and you can just farm damage now ridiculously easy and not care about your team, because even on a loss in a Thunderer, if you have basic kiting skills, which is just pointing your stern toward the enemy team and moving at like 1/4 throttle, you can easily get like 150, 170,000 damage, more than enough to make a profit. Let alone that the Thunderer is a reward ship, and of course has the special boost and all to go along with it and such. So there's no concern for players like that. Well, even in like Yami, a tech line ship, if it's not going right and you can kite and you have decent survivability skills, and by that I mean like you know how to balance your damage con and heal to kind of delay your death for as long as you possibly can, you can of course easily just rack in 120k, 130k damage games, and you'll be fine on a defeat in terms of credits. Even if you don't have a premium account and you do that level of damage and just have a decent camo on your ship that you can get for free, you'll be fine. And that's not even counting signal flags and stuff on top of that. So players like that, they don't really care, too much. Of course they want to win, but, as long as they can get their damage in, they don't care. They don't really have to put in too much work for it now, considering how good Deadeye builds are on those sniper ships, of course. So what can be done to improve this? And this is what I think should be done. And it's some really simple changes, really, that I think would drastically improve team support, because players would be more encouraged to do it. So the two easiest things that you can do is add in, first off, assisted and kill ribbons. That way players are more encouraged to, of course not just snipe kills from enemy players, but also that guy that spent, 10 minutes trying to kill that slippery cruiser that's in the sea cap, and then somebody just yeets it out from underneath them. He still gets an assist ribbon for that. That still helps him in terms of kills and the rewards at the end of the match. And of course, potential damage, spotting damage, plane damage, all of those rewards should be increased in the calculation of the XP that you get at the end of the match. Because again, if you're tanking like 3 million damage for your team, that is a lot of damage that you've taken away from that would have gone toward your team that's been focused on you. That's a lot. Like 3 million potential damage. You have to be shot at a lot to get that much potential damage done on your ship. So those rewards need to be cranked up. I'm not saying it should be the same level as doing actual damage. I'm just saying it needs to be more than whatever it is now. I'm not sure of the exact ratio, but it needs to be more. Same for spotting damage and for plane damage. For helping out your team in doing damage to CV planes and helping out your team in terms of spotting for your team. And of course, the most obvious thing that can help the game out in terms of the current meta and lack of team play is of course a nerf to Deadeye. We've still been radio silent as far as wargaming is concerned on that skill and any changes coming to that, but we may hear a little bit about it in the future. I don't know how it's going so far. They did say that no changes are coming to the skills in this update, so maybe the next update. So guys, if there's one thing you take away from this video, it's be there for your team. The match you're watching right now, toward the end, myself, the Shimakaze, and the Ohio and our CV, we got it together. We started to work together, just focusing fire. That's all we did. We focused fire on the ships that needed to die. We were outnumbered. We were going to lose the match, and we just decided we were going to focus fire. We all started shooting at the same ship, used the quick commands. It worked, and magically we won the match. That's all we did. One element of team play. That and the Shimakaze was a dude and went and spotted the enemy DDs that were shadowing me and were keeping me spotted in my Thunderer. So again, I gave all these guys compliments. They did a fantastic job, and we managed to pull out a win from what would have been a sure loss. I was sure once we were like 3 ships down, I was sure we were done, but no, we managed to keep it together and focus down the enemies at the end. And the Ohio, whether he intended to or not, was a fantastic distraction by going broadside to the Montana and the Yami. I don't know if he intended to do that, but he managed to grab their attention. That, of course, helped out tremendously. Again, don't know if he managed to do that. The Ohio's got a pretty good hill, and it is the Montana hull, which it's a pretty tough hull, but against another Montana and a Yami, not the thing I would recommend that you do. But anyway, yes, just be there for your team, guys. Be close to the cap. I don't mean be on top of your DD as he's going into the cap. Just be within like 12 kilometers of your DD. You know, if you're in a cruiser, use your islands, use your maneuverability. If you're in a battleship, use your armor. Use your angles, go bow in, stern out, whatever you want. Bounce those shells coming in at you. Manage your damage count. It's okay to take damage. You're a battleship. You're meant to tank. Be there for your team, so when you need them, your team will be there for you. That is my biggest piece of advice, and if you take one thing away from this video, I hope it is that. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. And if you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way now to 25,000 subs. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. We've had a tremendous year of growth here on the channel throughout 2020, and I hope we continue that into 2021. Looks like we have so far. Again, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.